we will, by March second week, that is, we can cover the 18 sessions, and we can do whatever we want, like multiple options, couple of people are saying, means we cannot do full Upanishads this year. Next year we'll start Upanishads, but before that, couple of choices were Panchakam, say 5 verses by Shankaracharya, and then another choice was Sadhana Panchakam, 5 practices sadhana. Those are all, now if you go and study those things, it makes real sense.
Sadhana Panchakam, that's it's a very melodious one, right?
Yeah.
Very nice, very good to recite that.
And then,
But before we start next one, Rajesh, let's give couple of weeks at least see Q&A for solely dedicated for
question and answers.
yeah. What is that? What do you think? Right?
Okay. We'll fail, but
not question, not me question, like you can
argue
everybody, yeah, it's everybody's question,
just
including
to
my
get
questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a
Discussion.
group discussion kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good
that'd
idea.
be good.
That's very good. Yeah, so that means that tentatively that was my idea. Like March second week, this will be over. So the entire March we can continue with Q&A and any other clarification required. And then April we can.
The whole purpose of this, everything is like in this group discussion. There's a mutual learning here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel free to chime in anytime. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that we can do even now. So any no restrictions. If I don't know, I don't know. That's it. Before that, any questions? Before we get started.
We'll recap just the last session.
I'll quickly recap where we are, because I try to do that every session in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that thought process is there. And today is kind of a reconciliation, because we're talking about identification and attachment. So identification and attachment is a kind of reconciliation of all the topics we covered right from Vriddrishya Viveka. But before that, we need to have clarity where exactly this Vriddrishya Viveka fits. So anything we do, we want to know why, what, and how. So that process, the modern way of inquiring, has to be applied here. In fact, it is very, very much similar in ancient times. Anything we want to learn, we need to know why, what, and how. Anything we do, we need to know. There is a famous Sanskrit verse. Actually, I'm reading a book. I would suggest all of you to read that. It is very interesting. It is called Niti Shatakam by Bhartrhari. Bhartrhari's book, Niti Shatakam. I'll try to put that PDF into OneDrive. It's 100 verses on Niti, like some common things. Very good.
In Telugu, actually, we have typically cite all the time. These are
The Bhartrhari's one.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe they were translated to Telugu or something.
Yeah, it could be, because Bhartrhari was the brother of Vikramaditya, the king Vikramaditya, and a contemporary of Kalidasa. So he was a scholar. A lot of good verses.
Yeah. So, I mean, whether one is literate or not, in Telugu population,
They know that.
everybody knows that, yes. And they frequently quote these ones.
So he wrote 4 books he wrote. One is called Niti Shatakam, 100 verses on Niti. Then there is something called Vairagya Shatakam, 100 verses on Vairagya.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay.
Then 100 verses on Sringara.
Oh,
That is also there. Look at the
that's
way.
very attractive.
Yeah, see, 3. And then he wrote a book on grammar.
What does Satakam mean?
Shataka means 100 verses. Shata means 100. Shataka means 100 verses. Dashakam means 10 verses. Ashtakam means 8 verses. Panchakam, Manisha Panchakam we just talked. Panchakam means 5 verses. So we can go to our topic. So this Subhashitas are wonderful, amazing. One thing I was reading is like, if the fire is small, right, what the wind will do? Wind will put out the light, fire. But when the fire becomes a little bit strong, what's going to happen? The wind becomes a catalyst.
Yeah.
So he's saying that if you are weak, everybody will put you down. But if you are strong, the very same people will support you. Like that, it is really, really good Subhashitas.
That is part of
This Nidhi Shatakam, yeah.
interesting.
So it's beautiful.
It's in Sanskrit?
Yeah, it's in Sanskrit.
But where did he derive?
He composed. He was a great scholar. He was a great scholar and a king. And finally, he wrote this Vairagya Shatakam. That is, he found out the meaningless of this typical mundane life. How? That's a big story. We'll talk about that another time. Because otherwise, the whole session will take that. It's very interesting. That's fantastic. And I talked about another book also. Means if you're a student of Vedanta, I think you should read that. It is a scientific book. It is called Mind Over Medicine.
Oh, yeah.
Such a wonderful book. A lot of things we are talking here. It will make sense when you read that book because they arrive at the same conclusion through a different channel.
Who's the author?
Lisa Rankin, Dr. Lisa Rankin. It's a wonderful book.
I'll try to download and share it.
Yeah, okay, so we can get started. So today's topic is identification and, if time permits, attachment. But before that, we'll quickly recap and just listen to this because this is such an important topic. Without this, whatever we talked is only theory. It is good to listen. It will be a intellectual gymnastics, as Vijay said, but it won't help us a lot. So, why we are studying Vedanta? That is how we started our session. We are studying Vedanta because we want to put an end to all our sufferings. We all have a lot of sufferings. And a couple of things we said was, we are all subjected to sorrow. That is how Krishna started his teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. The problem is not you have a sorrow today. Even if I give you a remedy, if you are subjected to sorrow, what is going to happen? Some other situation will come tomorrow and make me sad. Correct? Because Krishna could have won that battle and solved Arjuna's problem. But tomorrow, Arjuna may have a health issue. What is he going to do? So the problem is not I am faced with a particular challenge. The problem is I am subjected to sorrow. How do you eliminate that? And Vedanta tells, yes, there is a way. There is a way to eliminate that sorrow. Here and now, in this life. Means we made it very clear, right? Suppose somebody come back and say that, yes, all your sorrow will end. When?
When you die.
When you die after death. There's a joke. You all know that, right? You told about this.
Yeah.
So, one religious preacher was asking his students, how means for removal of all the sorrow, what do you have to do? Getting out of all the sorrows. Somebody said you have to go to heaven. So for that, what do you have to do? Somebody said you have to do charity. Somebody said you have to love the neighbor. Somebody said you have to do good actions. Somebody said that you have to do your duties. And one person stood up and said, you have to die first. Right? So if the reward promised is a post-mortem reward, better I would suggest, it could be true, we don't know. It's a non-verifiable belief. But Vedanta is telling that it is not a post-mortem reward. You can experience that here and now. Hundreds of masters testified this already through three means, right? We talked about that. Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. This is the Vedantic methodology. Shruti means what is said in the scripture. It has to be assessed with logic. And finally, it should be experienceable to anybody who is willing to practice. So this is what Shankaracharya starts his commentary on Gita by saying that this is how I'm going to do. Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava. So, yes, I can put an end to all these sufferings. How? That was the first question we asked. What was the answer? What exactly is the problem? Yeah, even in modern times, right? Any program or project you do, it should be addressing a business problem. If you don't identify that problem, that project won't be successful. Guaranteed. So that's why in the modern times, like everybody, all the stakeholders has to have a uniform opinion about what am I going to solve. What exactly is the problem I'm addressing? And you have an artifact called a charter. In that charter, you capture that and it will be reviewed and approved by all the executive leaders. Because this is such an important step. So what exactly is the problem here? We identified that the problem is I don't know myself properly. If I don't know myself properly, if I identify with something else as me, it is going to influence. Remember, I used a careful sentence. What I hear, what I feel, what I think, what I act is completely depending upon my identification. So if I have wrong perception, my feeling, my thinking, my speaking, my actions, everything will be with respect to what I'm seeing. Remember, in one class, we took the whole class citing one example, the most traditional example of Vedanta, the snake and the rope. If I see a rope as a snake, what exactly is what am I seeing? Rope or snake? Snake. What is my feeling? Fear. What is my thinking? How can I escape from that snake? Or how the snake got here? What is the risk? How do I mitigate that risk? All these things will come. And what is the solution? I may take a gun and shoot. I may try to run away. Any of that action is that going to work? And what am I going to speak? There is a snake. So every action was wrong. What was the fundamental problem?
I wasn't seeing it.
Wrong perception.
Right.
So if I perceive myself properly, if I don't know who I am, if I don't know what I am, then my thinking, my perception, my feeling, what I'm talking, and my actions, everything will be wrong. And typically what we do, we think that the problem is completely external. We think that if I get a little bit more money, I'll be happy. If my family behaves me a little bit nicely, I'll be happy. If I have a little bit more friends, I'll be happy. If my health is a little bit better, I'll be happy. So if you try to document all these requirements for you to be happy, let's tentatively say that it is 25. It will be much more than that, but I'm just approximating it as maybe 3 or 10. Let's say 10. Let's make simplified. What is the problem? I tried to fix all of them. No doubt we have to fix all of them. But the traditional example in Vedanta is what? It's like you're trying to, put 10 cats in a line. By the time you come to the 10th cat, what is going to happen?
First one goes here.
So by the time I have the physical health taken care, right, I'll have financial issue. Now I go and work on all the financial issue. By that time, the relationship is gone. Look at a lot of CEO stories in California. Commercially highly successful, but look at their family life. And okay, I found another relationship and everything. By that time, what is going to happen? Stock will crash or the health is gone. So you are trying to make sure that you means I think I'll be happy only when these 10 things aligns. What does that mean? From womb to tomb, it's a constant suffering. So how can I get out of it? So here Vedanta comes back and tell the problem, you are the problem and you are the solution. Mind you, that's a powerful word because the problem is with you. How can I fix it? So it's a great assurance. It's not a negative sentence.
Yeah.
It's a positive sentence.
Yes.
You are the problem. That means the fix is in my hand. And Vedanta is going to give me a solution.
Yeah. But our approach is always try to fix.
Always approach them. I told different stories. I'll tell you one more story just to keep this in mind. This is one of the most hilarious story I've ever heard in my life. I never told this story in the classes also, so I'll tell you this. Once upon a time, there was a husband and wife. This husband is he has a lot of love for this wife. She's everything for him. But recent times, this man had a doubt. What is a doubt? This wife cannot hear properly. Whatever he say, there is no response properly. He was sad and he took an appointment with the doctor, but he didn't want to tell him or hurt her. So, but before that, he wanted to do one more final test. So he went to the basement and asked her, "What's there for dinner?" No response. Okay, he said probably sometimes the walls are there. So he came a little bit closer, the next 2 rooms away. And he asked again, "What's there for dinner?" No response. Finally, he went to the kitchen and asked the wife, "What's there for dinner?" You know what did she say? "I already answered 3 times.
The problem was with him. He couldn't hear.
He couldn't hear. So he was trying to get appointment. He was trying to get everything for her to not solve the problem. This is a very good story to illustrate the Vedanta, means the approach of Vedanta. So now the problem is, if I don't know myself properly, how do I fix it? I need to know myself. Any knowledge can happen only through a means of knowledge. How do I know that you are sitting here? How do I know that you are wearing like a t-shirt? I need to use my eyes. So a means of knowledge is very important for the knowledge to take place. Or if you want to perceive something, if you want to get correct knowledge, the appropriate means of knowledge we have to use. And we talked about the 3 major categories of means of knowledge: Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda Pramana or Veda. Pratyaksha means your sense organs. Anumana means all the inferences. And Shabda Pramana means scriptures or scientific discoveries or testimonies, etc. on a very high level. So here, to know myself, what exactly is the means of knowledge I need to use? We said it is neither Pratyaksha nor Anumana, because sometimes your experience may not be telling the truth correctly. In the Bhagavad Gita class, we explain this a lot. If I go to a ocean, if I go and watch the sunset, what exactly I feel? The sun is going down. What exactly is happening?
The earth is turning.
Yeah, you are moving up. But that's not my experience. So our direct experience is not always correct. So how do I know myself? Here Vedanta tells, Vedanta is the pramana. Pramakarana, right? That is what is pramana. In some Indian language, pramana means will. Don't take that. Prama means what? Knowledge. Karanam means instrument. So pramana means a means, an instrument to know something. So Vedanta is a pramana. So Vedanta can be used to know yourself. The teachings of the Vedanta will unfold yourself in front of you. That is the point. Now the problem is what? Any means of knowledge to work, there are some prerequisites. If I wanted to see that rope clearly, even if I have eyes, I need to have light. So there are some prerequisites for any means of knowledge to work. What exactly is the prerequisites for Vedanta to work? Vedanta to work, there are the adhikaratvam, right? Which said fourfold qualifications are required. If you remember, what are they? Viveka, Vairagya, Shatka Sampatti, and finally Mumukshutva. Just again recapping the whole sessions because that where we wanted to go through from beginning till now. And then what is the question? When each one of us look back, we don't have even that adhikaratvam. So first I have to put a light before I can look for the snake. So how do I put that light? Or how do I make myself eligible for receiving this knowledge? He said there are two problems here. One is chitta ashuddhi. Second one is that chitta asthiti, right? Properly means one is the mind is not pure and the mind is not controlled. So we uses yoga in a broad sense, but to be specific, karma yoga and upasana yoga. Remember we took one sessions each. What is karma yoga? We saw karma yoga will purify my mind and upasana yoga will make my mind stable and calm. So upasana yoga, we talked about 4 different levels of upasana. So once I get it, I am eligible for this knowledge. So then we started talking about what exactly is the means to know myself. And we said in Vedanta, one of the most powerful teaching methodology is Drik, Drishya, Viveka. The difference between seer and the seen. The whole idea is observer is always different from the observed. So then we analyzed the perception, the different levels of perception. And we saw that the real observer is the consciousness. So now in that process, to elaborate this topic, we examined 3 bodies. So what were the 3 bodies?
Physical body,
The physical body. So we saw the physical body.
subtle body,
Physical body. Then we saw subtle body.
and the causal body.
Yeah. On a high level, we can put it as physical and subtle. Causal means it is in the seed form. Then we saw that this bodies has different functionalities. That is, we saw that in the Panchakosha. Then we saw that this entity, which we call as Jiva, goes through different states. What are those states?
Child, youth, and
No. Waking,
Okay,
dream, and
dream
deep
sleep,
sleep. Yeah.
right, yes.
So this is the different state through which the Jiva goes through. And that itself is a proof that from where the feed comes, that exactly is my experience. In dream, my physical body is lying here, but I see dreams of India. I see dreams of ghost. The other day somebody was telling, right?
Okay.
Yeah, somebody was telling me and coming and telling me in the class that she had a dream of a ghost. And she got really afraid. So the point is, what is projected in the screen of the mind, that is what my experience is. So I'm just making a scientific fiction. If a scientist find a way tomorrow to cut this sensory field and just feed your sensory feed into me, what is going to happen?
You'll done to me.
Yeah, you whatever you think,
You'll
I'll see it, right? Because what is being projected into my mind is my experience. And to make that point very clear, I said, when you're sitting here, who am I really seeing? One Rajesh Menon sitting in that chair, or the image of Rajesh Menon created in my mind. A mental event, which is known as Chitta Vritti. The physical perception by the eyes will create a corresponding mental event. And if there is a problem, a physical problem or physiological problem, for example, color blindness, real Rajesh Menon will be color, but I will see only black and white. And what would be my experience? My experience is always the mental image or the mental event created on my mind. Now we talked about this little bit further. There is a third entity. What is that entity? Consciousness. What is this consciousness? We said it is the all-pervading entity. So the example is like the cell phone you have here. The cell phone is a phone only because it is connected to a tower. Where exactly the presence of that tower?
You don't know.
It's whole, right?
Yeah.
The whole township has that signals. Like that, consciousness is not an entity which is centered in our body. Whereas consciousness is an entity which pervades the entire universe. When I am in that consciousness, when my physical body, subtle body combination is in that consciousness, what happens? I feel conscious. If the consciousness was not there, it would be like if the tower is switched off. What is going to happen?
The phone dies.
For a person who is not educated, he don't feel that the phone is empowered by the tower. He feels that, yeah, this is an isolated entity. But the moment the tower goes down, what happens? Phone is dead. Phone is useless.
Right.
So like that, we have a physical body and we have a subtle body. And I try to explain that with the modern example. If the physical body is a computer, subtle body is the software. And you need a power source, which is everywhere. Power is not just limited. See, I'm taking power for this laptop right now. But this power is not exclusively for this laptop. The power is there everywhere. I just need to tap the power. Now, the second point I said was, if I have physical body in the consciousness, the physical body cannot reflect the consciousness or accept the consciousness. If the cell phone hardware is there, but the software is missing to catch the tower is there, the phone is there, it will fail. So like that, if the physical body is there, the subtle body is empty, means not there, nothing will work. That is what we call as a dead man. Now, if the subtle body is there and the consciousness is there, but there is no physical body, the physical body, the subtle body cannot manifest without a physical body. We talked all these things. Now, what is the problem? I have three different entities on a high level. There is a physical body, there is a subtle body, there is consciousness. Who am I? Now, the question. Don't give me the theoretic answer. Right now, what is my feeling?
I'm conscious.
Physical.
Some physical and subtle also sometimes, because sometimes I can identify myself with a profession, right? That is subtle. So now the problem is, what Vedanta tells us is, who are you? We can assess this from a multiple angle. If I take myself as physical body, let's start with that. Let's identify ourselves with the physical body. What does that mean?
That I will die.
Of course, I was born at a certain point of time. I'm changing constantly.
Right.
We talked about regeneration in the Gita class. So every cell, 90% of the cell will be replaced in a span of 7 years. And I referred one journal in New England, University of Manchester, a very well written article. So the physical body is constantly changing and it will be an end. Now, if I identified with subtle body,
There is no end until Pralaya.
pralaya, but again there is a problem.
Have to keep changing physical bodies.
Yeah, the physical body means, let's take that as an example. Let's think that I am going to identify with my car. Theoretically. Certainly the car belongs to me. Without the car, I cannot commute. Suppose I identify with my physical body, which is with that car, which is one of the most powerful gadget available to me. Or suppose I identify with my, say, house or a car. Car is a better example because the duration is small. If I identify with that, through that car, how long my personality will be expressed?
Till you sell it.
Only the duration of the car.
Right.
So if I identify myself with the physical body, what is going to happen? Even though something in me survives the death, what would be my perception?
That you have an end.
You have an end. Second thing is what? If the car gets a dent, how do you treat that?
You have to fix it.
You have to fix it. And worst case, if the car becomes useless, you will feel sad. You will feel, definitely you will feel sad, but that's not the end of the world. We can always replace the car. So if I take the car as myself, there's a difference. What am I feeling? I feel that my life is coming to an end. Whereas if I take the car as a gadget belongs to me, there is a difference. What would be the feeling I'm getting? I feel sad because this was the most useful gadget I ever had. Next car, there is no guarantee whether it is a good car or a lower end car or whatever it is. We don't know. In the case of car, I know what exactly is the car I'm going to buy. But in the case of body, I have no idea. So definitely a powerful tool I had will be replaced with a different tool. But still, I will continue to exist. So that will put an end to the sufferings of this birth and death, because that is one of the greatest fear. That is exactly what Krishna is trying to negate. So what Vedanta is telling me is that the basic problem is, who are you? You can be identified with the physical body, you can be identified with subtle body, and you can be identified with a combination of physical and subtle body. That is what exactly we always do. I feel that I'm Rajesh. I feel that I'm a program management professional. It's not entirely physical. Okay, I feel that I know Vedanta. Right? I'm proud of it. And I feel that I'm the dad of a child. I feel that I'm related to X and Y and Z. Again, all my pride and all my problems are with respect to what?
Physical body.
Physical body and subtle body. When I say that I'm sick, I should rephrase it saying that my gadget is not working properly.
If we tell the story like that, right? Then the obvious question people ask is, then what should I have problems with then? Because the base point is I have to have some problems. Right?
Correct.
No, but even this relationship with your family and your kids and your car and your profession is all through your physical body. I mean, if your physical body wasn't there, they wouldn't know you.
Absolutely. And also, when somebody passes away, when a loved one passes away, right?
I mean, they don't realize that the subtle body is moving.
No,
on.
all those things. But from your perspective, from your current perspective, you're not going to see him in the same form ever.
Ever, right?
So that is the only part of sorrow,
Yeah.
right? Not that that person is disappeared completely. So that is a legitimate sorrow, and that is what is Krishna is addressing in verse 14 of the second chapter. Krishna tells, right, on an absolute level, you don't need to worry because nothing is happening. But the relative level, what is relative level? From the standpoint of the body. Absolute level means from the standpoint of Atma or the consciousness. So there are two levels of standpoints are there. One is, of course, you can say that I am Rajesh. What does that mean? I was born at a certain point of time. These are the problems with my body. I may have high blood pressure, or I may have cholesterol. My body is this, means I have maybe pain in my leg. All these things are there. All that are reality. You cannot ignore that. I have to pay mortgage. Even here also we have to pay mortgage. We cannot say that we are doing social service. So all these are relative, meaning facts we have to face. But suppose your phone is bad, don't you have to go and fix it? Don't you have to maintain the phone? Don't you have to make sure that the phone is operating under the well-defined operating conditions? So I don't get the argument that if I am not the body, I will not care the body. Not at all. That is a wrong answer. And what exactly is the sorrow with this identification? If you are thinking that you are the body, that means there is a huge problem, because I'm subjected to so many things, I cannot escape from this. But if I'm identified with the Atma, what happens? Yes, my gadget has problem, your gadget has problem, and truly speaking, nothing going to happen to me. But let me say that before this phone, I had an iPhone previous version. Am I going to see that phone again? Not at all. So if there was a person like X, whom I loved a lot, and he passed away, I know that in essence, he is no more. But reality means on a transactional basis, I won't be seeing him in that particular form at all.
Actually, no form. You'll be seeing him in no form.
You
right?
don't
You'll never see him again.
You'll never see him again.
Whether it is subtle or physical.
Yeah, you don't know him. Correct. So that's the part we need to address. But on a high level, all that relationship, right, from an absolute reality perspective, what exactly is the relationship? Let's try to identify. You feel that you are related to your child. Who is related to whom?
That body related to that body.
My gadget is related to somebody else's gadget. That from an absolute perspective, that is what it is.
Right.
So you have to have that objectivity. That is what the word Vedanta uses. Objectivity. So you need to understand that there are two things Vedanta is going to tell very clearly. One is your true identity is Atma, or the consciousness, that do not have any birth, growth, decay, or change. And that is full by itself. And that is everlasting happiness. But if you identify with the body or the gadgets you have, because in the current form, your expression in the world outside, world itself is a relative reality, right? Your expression in the world is fully depending upon the gadget you have. And that gadgets are finite. Don't expect permanency in that gadget. Now let me tell you a very, 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 very bold but factual statement. Why certain situations and certain people or certain state of mind is dear to me? Honestly speaking, please tell me the answer. As a dad,
What your physical body feels, your subtle body can feel too.
Correct. So ultimately, happiness is a state of mind. Correct? Something you experience in the mind. Why you feel that your child is dear to me, or your parents are dear to me, or
Attachment.
yeah, exactly. I'm coming to that. But attachment means it's a fuzzy word. We need to understand that a little bit more in detail. So when I say that I love my child, why? There is the Upanishad tells a very, 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 very bold statement here. It tells Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. Every object is dear to me. For whose sake?
My sake.
My sake. The most purest relationship is between a mother and a child. Why a mother loves a child? Because the presence of the child or loving or that child gives her a lot of happiness and contentment. She may not be expecting anything, but she feels that she is contented in the presence of the child or in the memory of the child or when the child talks. I'm just even saying that some mothers are selfish because the love depending upon only when.
You need to buy something, money.
No, not that.
Okay.
That is extreme. But in this particular country, what is common? If you don't marry the girl of your choice. Very recently, I saw a family breakup just because of that. It's very common.
Divorce is very common.
Everything is common,
Yeah.
right? So the point is, then is that unconditional love? I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. But what I'm saying is that
Then it's your gadget loving another gadget.
there is, that is superficial. What I'm saying is that I wanted to go in deep, contemplate upon this. This is very subtle. You have to think through this and understand this very carefully. So, when the presence of that person makes me happy, and I feel that that particular entity, whether it is a child, whether it is a phone, or whether it is a movie, that gives me happiness. I naturally get attached to all that. And this is called emotional dependence. That is what the definition of attachment in Vedanta. Vedanta means attachment means what? I feel terrible in their absence. And I feel fulfilled in their presence. Or my happiness or my contentment is entirely dependent upon a place or an object or a person or a thing. That is what is attachment.
So you have sort of like a dependency. Happiness.
You see, love and emotional dependence are two different things. You can very well love a person without emotional dependence. Why I feel that I'm emotionally dependent upon somebody for happiness? I don't feel fulfilled by myself. That's exactly the reason. If you are already full and contented, see, if you are a multi-billionaire, do you care what you are going to get like as small amounts the other two people are going to give? Bill Gates is running a charity foundation. Is he dependent upon the small donations given by people? Absolutely not, because he has that infinite amount of wealth. When I have discovered that infinite amount of happiness and contentment within myself, then what is going to happen? My love for the people and the situation around me becomes truly unconditional. Correct? Think through this.
Yeah.
This is not, we are not talking about the abstract absolute reality which we cannot conceive at this point of time. Now the problem is what? Vedanta is coming back and telling me that Hey, you may not experience that absolute reality immediately, but your direction is wrong. You are trying to derive happiness from the presence or the absence of other people. You are trying to present that means derive happiness from the situations around you. You are trying to derive happiness right from the weather to the food to everything. In one Malayalam movie, there is a joke. One person actually he say triple talak to his wife because the biryani was too spicy. So some people, even the tea is a little bit hot, they get upset
I've seen that.
because my state of being happiness is dependent upon 5 people, 7 situations, and 15 different conditions around me. So Vedanta is telling you don't need anything for that happiness. So if you identify yourself with Atma, that is why that is the most powerful source of happiness. That is the incentive we have for the studies. Because the definition of Atma is what last week we saw Sat, Chit, and what is the last portion? Ananda. So, any happiness you experience so far, I'm sure everybody experienced some level of happiness. All that happiness came from within. How do you experience that happiness? Because when the external situation is conducive, what happens? My mind will become into that state which can find the happiness already within me. So that's why in Vedanta, what we are seeking is called Shanti. What is Shanti? It came from the root Sham, means what? Quietude. When the mind is quiet, when the mind is not overlapped with the thoughts of the subtle body, that is the time I'm seeing face to face Atma. I'm experiencing the real Atma. That experience itself is extremely contented. So the basic problem here is the subtle body. The subtle body will have so many mental activities. Remember, we talked about that. Chitta Vritti. What happens usually? I identify with that Chitta Vritti. I forget the fact that I'm seeing the Chitta Vritti, but I identify myself with the Chitta Vritti. The classic example is when you watch a movie. Sometimes what happens? You get identify if at all you identify with the character of the movie. What is going to happen?
What the character feels, you feel.
Yeah, you feel terrible. But if you sit back and understand that it's a movie happening, I'm watching, I'm different from what is happening. The Chitta Vrittis I am observing. And the process of getting identified with this Chitta Vritti is known as Adhyasa. Superimposition. The classic example given by Vedanta is what? When you have a crystal and a cloth in front of that crystal, when you look at the crystal, what do you feel? The color of the cloth. So in Atmabodha, the traditional example is you keep a hibiscus flower in front of a crystal. What would be the color of the crystal?
Correct.
Red. Really, is the crystal red? The crystal is pure and not tainted, but you always feel that it is. So when the Chitta Vrittis, when you identify yourself with the Chitta Vrittis, what is going to happen? You feel that all the sufferings, everything projected in your mind is affecting you. Even though it's a problem to be dealt with, you have to deal with that. Just like the cars has a dent, you have to go and fix it. But that doesn't mean that you are affected a lot. But what exactly is our experience? Any small thing, we feel that we are impacted because of our identification with Chitta Vritti. So, the greatest trouble point identification is the identification with our Chitta Vritti. And the greatest attachment means it varies from person to person. For some people, it is profession. For some people, it is family. For some people, it is money. Some people, it is whatever it is. For some people, it is Vedanta. Vedanta can be an attachment.
So the cause of attachment is coming from unfulfilled.
Correct. So this is the 2 points I was telling is that the problem of there are 2 problems we talked about. One is the problem of identification. The problem of identification means as consciousness, we are observing all our mental activities. Remember, in the last class, I defined consciousness as what? That by which you are aware of all your chitta-vrittis. Correct? So when you identify yourself with the observed, when the observer get identified with the observed, what is going to happen? All the limitations of the observed becomes the limitations of the observer. If the sun gets identified with the Bhagavad Gita, what is going to happen? Sun feels that he is holy. Next moment, the sunlight is hitting the gutter water. Sun feels that.
Yeah.
And
Taking care of children is one thing, but without them, I cannot survive or I cannot be happy is a different thing.
that is the attachment part.
That's the attachment part.
Part. So identification is, I am depressed. I am not depressed. I have some depressing mental feelings. That's it. The moment you detach yourselves from that thought,
So you are viewing it as a good thing.
correct. So yoga chitta vritti nirodha. When you have control over that, what is going to happen? Patanjali brilliantly explains this in 3 sutras. Tata drishtuhu surupe avasthanam. When you are separate from your chitta vrittis, you are in your own true nature. Otherwise, what is going to happen? Just to clarify this, in the 4th verse he tells, vritti sarupyam idatra. Otherwise, you are going to identify with your chitta vrittis. I cannot see a better explanation of this part in other than Patanjali Yoga Sutra. 3 sutras. 3 lines he brilliantly explains this, the problem of identification. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. 2nd sutra. Yoga is the ability to control your mental activities. When you have full control over your mental activities, you know who is the observer, you know what is the observed. When you have that, what is going to happen? You are established in your own true nature. Tada drishtuhu surupe avasthanam. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 18, Krishna tells exactly the same thing. He tells, Yatro uparate chittam nirutham yoga seveya tatra chaivatmana manam pashyannatmani mukhi. When you are controlling your mind through the practice of the yoga, what is going to happen? Yatro uparate chittam nirutham yoga seveya. By the practice of the yoga, when you are controlling the mind, tatra chaivatmana manam pashyan. You are seeing your own self. Then only you are seeing yourself. So the point take home message is, it's very easy for you to get identified with your thoughts. Think about that hibiscus flower, that crystal. We always see that crystal as red. You always see, let's say that a bad movie is playing on the screen. You feel that I am bad. No, I'm seeing a bad movie. That's the difference. You feel that I'm depressed, I'm extremely agitated. No, anger is in me. I'm not angry. As long as that awareness is there, you are in control. Nothing in the world can shake you. You will be able to face every situation boldly.
But won't you be sort of indifferent to your family?
Not at all. You will be more connected to your family. We are going to see that in the Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, last 18 verses. Arjuna had the exact same question.
I mean, won't you become like Krishna? Because, no matter what he saw, he was just sitting in there and smiling because he knew what.
No, he will do everything to change as much as he can. That is also there, right?
No, but he was not getting
Correct. He is
mentally
not
affected.
emotionally
It wasn't affecting
impacted.
him. Yeah.
That's why the Vyasa used the word Tamuvacha Rishi Keshaha. How did he approach the situation? Prahasanniva Bharata, with a smile.
Yeah.
That's a very important question that we need to address in class. Yes, absolutely.
We will have to address this. Means, are we going, because Shankaracharya tells, when a small child come and smile at you, are you going to be like a stone?
Exactly.
Not at all.
He's saying,
Not at all.
I'm Atma.
No. You will be able to love unconditionally to everybody, and you will see that love flows out of you. Look at Vivekananda. And look at Krishna. He tells in the 3rd chapter, I don't have anything to achieve, but I work 24/7 for everybody. All these teachers, you can see, they tirelessly work. Unconditional love. And you see, Krishna, the definition itself is what? Krishna means that which attracts everything to himself. So Krishna means that is Karshayati iti Krishna. That is what the definition of Krishna, the word meaning. You will see that such a person, I told you that joke of Swami Chinmayananda, such person is wherever he go, he brings happiness.
I think we can digress into a little bit more the question. Can I take the
Yeah, please.
So this question is very important actually, otherwise we will not progress in our spiritual growth, right? And we can digress ourselves that. We can say for example, suppose you sit part when we are having a party at home, right? The children are playing there, right? And then one child toy is snatched by other child, let's say for example. And the other child is so upset, he's crying, I want this, I want this, I want that, right? They're fighting for that. And you sitting there, you can just smilingly go and pacify them like that. You're not at all disturbed by that because, right? Because your toy snatching, that level is so low, and you are over there, that is. Therefore, there is nothing for you, that is. But at our level, if somebody takes 50% of our property, would be really, really upset, that is. At our level, that is, right? That is. But if it's something like a millionaire or billionaire, for example, for them it is like $1,000, $100,000, nothing for them, that is. So it all depends on how higher level your thinking platform is. Relatively, you will feel appropriately, that is.
And we'll see this in detail. 18 verses are dedicated for this. And one more simple thing is like one simple example. Let's say that a mother is sitting there, a child is there, and you saw a snake coming from there. Some mothers will, if it is too much attached, what is going to happen? The mother will faint. That's exactly what is happening to us.
You're overreacting.
You are overreacting, and you see, even in aeroplane, what do they say? Before trying to put the mask to other person, you have to put yourself. Because you have to be in control for supporting others and loving others. And without this, anything happen to family, anything happen to job, anything happen to anything in the society, and the God is so interesting that he will make something or the other, right? For us to get worried.
So the same kind of behavior and feelings can be extrapolated to animal kingdom too.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we are going to see. You have to see, Krishna tells in the 6th chapter, a man of realization, he will see a dog, a dog eater, a cow, and a spiritual master with same eyes. That doesn't mean that he will go and garland a dog. No. But he will have that respect and reverence towards the entire creation. From plant to animals to, and that's why our culture permit ourselves to invoke God in any form. It could be a snake, because the snake is also a manifestation of that truth. So the total can be invoked in any form. So let me come back to these two problems. We talked about identification. The problem of identification means the problem you were talking was the problem of attachment.
Right.
But before that, the problem of identification, which is a bigger problem, is we always get identified with our chittavrittis. Even the body identification is because the body gives a strong set of chittavritti. Because that is my experiences. Remember, I told because of two reasons. One is the nervous system, and the second one is the position of our sense organs. We talked about that.
Right.
So the position of the nervous system and the the position of the sense organs and the nervous system gives me enough chittavritti to believe that I'm spatially constrained and this is me. The boundary of my gadget is the boundary of myself. That is an illusion created. And when I identify with that chittavrittis, I feel that I'm this particular person. I have to see the chittavritti apart from myself. There are meditation techniques for this. We will practice a few things. See, one example in one of the book, Prakarana book, I believe it is Vivek Chudamani or Anuboda. One of the books talks about is how do you establish in this knowledge? So you always, whenever you see this crystal as red. For you to understand the true color of the crystal, what do you have to do? At least one time, see the crystal without that hibiscus. Then you know that this is the crystal, and then you know that it is the reflection of the color that is coming. So once you get this knowledge established, right, then whatever is the chittavritti, you know that it is a chittavritti. Not, this is the methodology. We'll see that later. But this is the first problem is identification. Who you are, truly you are the consciousness, Atma, but you get identified with your chittavrittis. Then the second problem is the problem of attachment. See, I didn't say that don't love others. I said that don't be emotionally dependent. That's all we said. Emotional dependence is the problem because sometimes this attachment, always people feel that attachment is love. I'm not talking about that. I'm emotionally dependent, meaning what? I can love somebody without, because if emotionally dependence means what? My happiness is entirely depending upon you, or my happiness is entirely depending upon the position I get at work. That means I'm attached to what? My profession. Such people find it difficult to retire. There are a lot of people who has enough money, they can safely retire, but they still go to the work because for that sense of pride. Then actually sometimes it is the you can get attached to several things.
Like when a wife loses her husband, she's emotionally attached to him because without him she's lost.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what is going to means. Of course, there will be sadness.
No, the dependency without that person.
Dependency is the problem, right?
Without that person,
you have to cry. You have to make sure that everything is taken care of, and our culture permits that. Mourning and everything.
But the sorrow that you feel that you won't see that loved one in the same
form.
form.
And that is exactly the sorrow. But the dependency is what? Not because of him passing away.
Right.
It is because I miss something.
Right.
My fulfillment, I feel that I'm unfulfilled.
Right.
And even when I know that in traditional times, when people pass away, the other person cry. What is it? Why did he do this to me? Think of that language itself. That's it. So you are worried about that. You know that Mahatma Gandhi, you won't see him. Vivekananda, such a great master, you won't see him. That's definitely a matter of sorrow. But don't think that we are dependent on anything, because everything else we are dependent upon is temporary. So if you put more dependency, you are putting more points of failures. And sometimes what happens? The dependency will not allow you to unconditionally love the other person. You think that you're emotionally dependent upon your son. When he comes with a non-Indian, non-Hindu girl, you feel what? The son might be doing good. And in fact, let me just, for the assumption, I'm saying that she's a good girl. She's take care of the son well. In fact, that should be okay for you. But my emotional dependency is impacted. And my emotional dependency is, there is a slight risk for my emotional dependency. I feel anxious. And any issue happen to my emotional dependency, I feel extremely worried. And what you try to do, how to fix it? You wanted your son to behave exactly as you want. Have we behaved exactly as our parents wanted? Not at all. So no, it's okay. So you give that space for everybody. Don't be dependent on anybody or anything. Or it means some people are dependent on Vedanta.
Yeah.
Dr. Nagendra told me some people are addicted to Vedanta. So if they don't study Vedanta, that's a problem. So Vivekananda said this chain, this is like a chain. This could be a golden chain also. Loving your wife, it's purest relationship. It's okay, but it's a golden chain.
Yeah, the good discussion is so with Atman on this topic. Yeah.
So this attachment and identification is the key problem. And the teaching of the Vedanta will help you to transcend from these two problems. That doesn't mean that tomorrow you will ignore your body with which you were identified earlier, or you will ignore any of the relationship, and you will see that new relationships are formed. Because otherwise, what is going to happen? If my son didn't call me today, I'm upset. Next time when he calls, I get upset with him, and after some time, he will never call me. That's exactly what I'm telling you. It's not a joke. When we are operating with this fear and dependency, our reaction means the other person feels trust with our reactions. If we start loving unconditionally, the love has a wonderful capacity, right? When you love, it will come back as twice. So if you want to love freely, you cannot do that when you are emotionally dependent.
So basically, true love is unconditional and there's no attachment.
No, when I say attachment, just don't, this word attachment can be misinterpreted, right? I would say emotional dependent. Don't, means you love him, you will give everything to him, but you are not dependent upon.
For fulfilling.
Yeah, no, you are not dependent upon anything.
See, unconditional love without expecting something you have to give. So these are actually understatements.
Yeah.
So love is not something you give to somebody, take something.
Correct.
It's love is something. It's a status of a being. That is
Correct.
A status of a certain person is like a bulb, light coming from the bulb. That is, whoever comes underneath, they get benefited. That is.
One more point, Vijay. That is exactly the point. So tomorrow, Ratnagar, okay, today onwards you are inspired in these words, and tomorrow you're saying, I'm going to practice unconditional love. Let's say that I have only $100 in my hand, and I'm not expecting any money. Is that possible? I need to realize that I have $1 billion in my account. Then I'm not looking at that $5, $10 he is giving, she is giving, or that thing. So first, I have to discover that true happiness within myself. Without that, this unconditional love cannot be practiced.
Exactly. And it always looks like an object to that.
Right.
So that's like a sort of prerequisite.
Correct. So what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
I was just trying to highlight the two problems.
Yeah.
And the solution is discover that unconditional happiness within me. Discover that Atma. Right now, I was just talking about Atma. It's a paroksha anubhuti. When you get that aparoksha anubhuti, right? So when your child coming back and giving you a small gift, you're so happy. It's not that it's out of love.
Yeah.
It's a maybe a like on your birthday, she may just draw a picture and give it to you. You know that it's nothing. And if you really look at the quality of that picture, my God, even God cannot make that it is you from that picture. But you feel so happy and contented.
Yeah, it's outcome that is. It's a byproduct actually that is. Yeah.
Sometimes the children will take our own money and get a gift to us, and we feel so happy. That's exactly what happens. So it will help you to enjoy the situation. It will help you to face all the difficult situations in life, and it will help you to love everybody properly. So that's why it's so important, because we are not like barter, right? This is not I give you 5 units of love. A lot of people say that. Parents even say that.
It's not a transaction.
Yeah, it's a
all that for you.
Yeah.
Which
I
means-
lived my life for you. Then it's a business. You're investing him in him.
But so what do you do about the sorrow you feel, let's say, that Gandhiji is not there anymore, or Vivekananda? I mean, it's definitely a feeling that it's a loss.
It's a loss, but you have to move away, right? That is what Krishna said. Agama apayinaha anityaha. Everything in the world around you will come and go. Tan titikshasva bharata. You have to endure them. There is no other way. There is no point in crying over the facts which cannot be changed.
So how do you alienate yourself from all these feelings? How do you move away?
How do you move away? Means see, without getting attached to something, you cannot detach. So, right? So, where exactly you need to get attached
He
to?
will come to you. Whatever the way ask, he'll come to the same point.
The point is the same. The point is the
We're
same.
attached to detach here.
Yeah. So you get attached to Atma. Get attached, then get connected to your
So I love myself. I should love myself more. Only then can I love other people.
But who right now when you love myself, you're loving the wrong identification.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
You ask whatever the way, he'll come to the same point.
It's like
That's your bottom line.
it's a story, right?
See-
There's a story like in India, you have to study some essays for the exam. So one guy thought about means he studied about coconut tree. So he know how to write 5 sentences about the coconut tree. So in the exam, instead of coconut tree, they asked about hen or sorry, the cow. So he said like cow is a good animal. Then he said cow can be tied in a coconut tree. Then he started writing about coconut tree. Like that, any answer you ask,
Goes to the same
go to the same place. In Bhagavad Gita, you see that any question you ask, Krishna will finally end up in yoga. Hundreds, 34 times he calls out yoga in the Gita.
See, we have to distinguish different between pain and sorrow. Okay, pain is there, real that is, right? But the suffering, pain and suffering, I mean. But the suffering is our own making that is.
Correct. Reaction to the pain.
Yeah. Similarly, pleasure, right? Pleasure is always there, that is. But how much happiness we feel, that is our own making, that is. Somebody feels like an iPhone may not be happiness, give happiness, but somebody is like a whole life, that is.
No, but that's because of your attachment. Say you lose one of your parent or somebody, right? And then that attachment, say you lose your parent and you lose your job. The differences of feelings in these two, it's not self-creation, right? It is being put on you. It's been, those situations came onto you. You didn't make those situations. So the sorrows that you get through that is real for you.
No, but if that is absolute, then everybody should feel exactly the same thing then.
So, no, you're right? So, means we said that this will eliminate the pain. The pain could be physical pain, and that the pain could be emotional pain. But what is going to happen? The suffering. So, there was a loss. Somebody passed away. A parent passed away. Definitely.
How much I endure is unto me.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Tiksha is right? Just
Yeah,
now?
Tiksha. You
That's
have
what
to
it is.
endure that. Like, you have to feel the pain. Once the pain is gone, you have to move on. Because you cannot hold on to that forever.
You
That's
said
all.
it what correct that is, but he's saying it as it's a fact.
It's a fact.
It's right. See,
If you have somebody hit you with a stick, your daughter hit you or your son hit you. It doesn't matter whether your son hit or whether it's a enemy hit. You feel the pain, but that pain will go away after some time. But if somebody at work hit you, that pain will go in one day. But the suffering, how did it happen to me? It will live there forever. That's the problem. The pain is inevitable, and the suffering is optional. That's the classic Vedanta statement based on Dhyana.
So how do you move away from that? I mean, how do you reduce that suffering?
Correct. So the first thing is, it's a step-by-step process. Right now we are sitting at this level, right? All of us, including myself. So first thing is, we have to have that true quality. Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Sthiti. How do you gain that? Start Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. How do you do Karma Yoga? Make sure that you are doing these Pancha Mahayajna regularly. Pancha Mahayajna, and you are not doing any tamasic action. Second thing is, practice those 5 disciplines we talked. Physical discipline, sensory discipline, emotion, speech level discipline, and finally, mental discipline.
But suppose you haven't done anything wrong in your life, or you think you haven't done knowingly. Say like what is that? Like Sudama, for example, right? He suffered his entire life, all his life, he never did anything wrong.
It's the
But
prarabdha, right? So you cannot.
so then
say
you
that-
blame it on your karma then.
yeah.
So basically, if you lose your job and your boss is yelling at you,
You don't have to blame anybody, right?
no.
Yeah.
So you blame yourself for it, obviously, that you lost, So what that suffering that you come and there was no, it was not your fault, supposedly. Say it was a layoff. What laid off?
So
What? How do you?
correct. Let me answer you that, right? So the suffering comes from where?
Self.
Within me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
See, my mind create that thought pattern. Why that thought pattern comes to me?
because all the worries that go along with it.
It
right?
is
How do I pay
already my mind is
expenses?
programmed in certain way. When you click your computer one button, why certain screen is popping up? Because a program is written like that.
Right.
Right now, our mind is programmed in certain way. So every situation in the world will create certain response. And when Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga you are doing, you are essentially reprogramming your system. When you reprogram, you will be able to see things objectively, and that won't create that reaction. The biggest benefit of Karma Yoga, they are saying, is it will reduce that reaction comes to you. So the right now, a situation that means if I see some situations, I feel like hitting that person.
Would I get to see it in this life or?
Of course, this self-realization you may not see, but if you practice Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, a 10 minutes meditation and a conscious performance of Karma Yoga, within months you will see the difference.
Absolutely.
Within months.
Yeah.
I see the difference in my life. And I can vouch on that because and also by default, right? There are so many factors. Let me tell you scientifically. 95% of the time we are controlled by the unconscious mind. Even if you theoretically know that you need to be positive and you need to be contented always, that will happen only when you're mindful. Look at the whole day. 90% of the time, that mindfulness is not there in each one of us. That means the program that controls you is the unconscious mind. And all this pessimism and all these thoughts are there. I was reading a wonderful story. One doctor, she was a doctor. This is published. This is clinically true. I mean, this is proven. It's not a scriptural story. One doctor was telling a story. She used to eat a lot of salty food in her childhood. More than sweet, she was fond of salty food. Too much salty food. So both her parents used to tell her that you are going to get blood pressure. You are going to get blood pressure. You know what? At the age of 20, she got blood pressure. Why? The mind can control your physiology, how even how it changes.
Because she kept thinking that she will get
Right.
it.
She don't even need to think. It goes. It's planted in her unconscious. So the book I told you earlier that has hundreds of case studies. Mind over medicine. Mind over medicine. In that one such example was so fascinating. Not fascinating. It is so amazing for me. Like one person has split personality. In one personality, he has diabetes. How can that happen?
It's a physiological problem. But,
The mind, when the mind changes, your physiology changes. And some people are already programmed with positive thinking. And see, if you look at me, I was programmed exactly opposite. If a situation happens, I used to think the worst case scenario. And for me, like a few years back, I needed something to happen for me to be happy. Something good needs to happen. But over a period of time, it changed, right? So now, I think at least for me, I know that something bad needs to happen for me to be sad. By default state is happy. That is not good enough, right? You should get above that. But sometimes when you go through difficult situations and when all these teachings comes in, you realize how much you take it for granted the life. They say in American expression, you have food in your stomach and a roof on your top. So many people don't have that.
What else you need, huh?
And you have access to this teaching. I would add supplement with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is not abstract theory. Even in the second chapter of the Gita, Krishna tells, even a little bit of practice can make that much difference in your life. So to answer your question, absolutely, you will see changes in your life. And the best thing is you will see more friends comes to you. Because the more you're refined,
Yeah.
other people come to you. That's why I like that Swami Chinmayananda's explanation. Like two people, wherever they go, they bring happiness. Such kind category of people, whenever they go, they bring happiness.
That's a natural law. Yeah.
And you will see even your family, spouse, and children are connected to you more. Your friends are connected to you more. Because who can avoid such a person? And some people, right, whenever they come, you really wanted to be with them. Some power or some. I used to hear like Swami Chinmayananda once he was getting into the airport, Hong Kong airport. Nobody know him. When he went there, almost everybody stood up. That was his personality. So, two problem once again. One is attachment. Attachment means we are getting identified with the vrittis that we are eliminating. Second thing is we think that my state of well-being is dependent upon so many people, so many situations, and so many conditions. Without knowing, means there Vedanta tells me the solution Vedanta is giving is first problem, understand that these chittavrittis are separate from you. You are not the chittavritti. You are only seeing the chittavritti. Second thing is your attachment problem is you already have more than what they can offer to you. Let's say that he can offer 5 units of happiness. You already have access to a billion unit of happiness. So it's like your child giving you 10 cents and you're so happy. Like that, you'll feel it.
So here we're looking at expectations
Correct.
and what you're getting. So
Correct.
always some kind of a transaction.
Correct, transaction.
But how do you categorize something like jealousy, where you shouldn't be expecting anything in return? Right?
No,
Some people are
see,
very
Yeah, no, see, that doesn't mean that tomorrow you need to go and work and don't expect salary. That's not what I'm telling. You have to do what needs to be done, right? When you say unconditional love, that means you have to give away all your money to other people. That's not what we are saying. You have to follow the dharma. You can live, but don't emotionally dependent. Means when you have a lot of money, you're extremely happy. When you have some financial, when the stock market crashes a little bit, it is a bad thing. You have to take corrective action. But if you are falling flat in front of that, mind you cannot even take corrective action. That's the point. So you need to be, Krishna uses a word, detached, attached. You have to, you feel like you will be extremely attached, but a kind of a detached attached.
You need to be like a crisis manager, basically, right? No matter what
Yeah.
the crisis is, you are like calm.
Yeah, means Dhoni, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, classic example in cricket, is captain cool because that's what won the World Cup for India. Otherwise, look at Sachin, is 100 times better than Dhoni
As a player, yeah.
as a player. But pressure match, look at all the finals he has played. I'm not criticizing him, I'm just observing a fact. So the presence of mind makes a huge difference. We have posted a book called Emotional Intelligence. That book's the whole theme is this. This is proven with modern research. So emotional intelligence is what? The ability to observe your emotion and manage. And how can you observe your emotion without getting identified with it? That's exactly what we are talking.
Yeah. But I think it's very nice. Actually, excellent questions. These are, something we must discuss not one time. This is not going to go away.
No,
It's going to come back again. Questions again. I think we should address. But especially Rohitji, I think in the question you asked is right. Personally, I was benefited by some of the questions you're asking. Is that an autobiography of a yogi? Yeah, I think that really helped to to put into perspective some of the things that are difficult to answer. I think that, yeah,
I'm sure when you put effort,
yeah,
God will give means if you go one step, He will pull you two steps towards Him. So,
So sometimes you see
and some
that.
people get attached to Guru.
yeah.
That's another problem.
We see that a lot in India.
Not everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You see,
Now in India, you have so many so-called Swamijis, right? Which everybody,
these Swamijis might be good, but what happens once the Swamiji passed away? These
no, no.
devotees becomes like institutionalizing.
I mean, if they're good Swamijis, yes, but I mean, otherwise there are like so many,
Fraud people are also there, yeah.
fraud babas, right?
Yeah. And what I'm saying is that what happens then, they won't even listen to another person because I'm attached to my guru. That itself is wrong. That itself is the against his
Yeah.
teaching. So this is, you can see.
I think it is strongly recommended to listen to actually multiple gurus
Different
because they same message they convey different ways.
Different ways,
Right?
yeah.
And something suddenly, sometimes even some of our friends actually, they're not enlightened or anything, right? If there's something, it just goes straight into our head sometimes. Even the best teacher may not have influenced, but
And
this friend would have influenced
Krishna
us.
tells, right, when you are ready, the teacher will come in front of you.
Yeah.
It may not be as a orange robed person.
Yes.
Sometimes it might be a driver in a bus.
Exactly. Yeah.
And actually, Tolstoy wrote a brilliant book. Can you switch it off?
Yes.
So Tolstoy writes Jesus comes to a person, Martin, right? He tells like, tomorrow I'm going to come to your house.